All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of Highlighting Greatness with Fisayo. I'm extremely excited to have this guest on the show. He's probably the longest friend that I've had just in general. Everyone, please welcome Dr. Daniel Nwachokor to the show.
Hey, nice to catch up with you, Fisayo, man. I appreciate you for inviting me onto this platform, and I look forward to a great conversation. I've been following the podcast now for the last few months, and I'm proud of what you've been able to develop, and I hope the listeners can get a lot out of this podcast, similar to the ones previously.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. Man, me and you, we've known each other almost 20 years at this point. Me and Daniel, we went to the same high school.
Yep.
Good old Hightower. Shout out to the Hurricanes.
Of course, yeah.
So man, that was 2001. We met, and we basically been rocking it since then. And that we both went off to out of town for undergrad, and I went up to pharmacy school. You went up to medical school, and now we're both back here. Something like 10, 15, almost 20 years later, back here at home, doing big things. And so I definitely wanted to get you on because we just, hearing where you are and everything, it's inspiring. It's amazing to see that we've, that you're here now. You've accomplished a lot of these goals that you have for yourself. So definitely let's talk about it, man. This is amazing.
I agree. I think it definitely when you mention Hightower in those early days, it kind of puts a smile on my face, because high school is when things were carefree, and you were just a dreamer back then. All of us were dreamers, right?
Yep.
We were just happy to be in class and to go to lunch and hang out and do those things that you do in high school. But I think one of the things that I guess set you apart and me apart is that we had a lot of vision, right? I think we knew grades were important and how we needed to be as students in high school, but I think we also knew that high school was only going to be a stepping stone to that next step for all of us, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I'll also add that I think it was a lot of those, I'm a firm believer that, surround yourself with good people. And I think you're a testament to that. And all the other, guests that you've had, a lot of these people you've known 10 years, 5 years, right? And so when you surround yourself with people, I think, who have that same vision and hunger and goal setting that you have, it just makes getting to your destination a lot easier because you have that supportive crew around you. And so I remember those early days of AP classes and the extracurriculars we did. I think all that really helped shape our work ethic, our critical thinking, our ability to know that we can do this, right? I think a lot of times, people look at the journey of medicine or pharmacy or nursing, or whatever it is they're looking at going into as a young 16, 17-year-old, and they just look at it as time, right? Oh, man, med school and residency is 12 years. Pharmacy is, 4 years after undergrad, and nursing is this many years. And so I think when you take away the time component, you got to really think of it as, is this something I'm passionate about? Is this something that I really want to do? And that makes the time just go by even faster. And then especially when you can balance your life, right? I think a lot of reason why people may get burned out or frustrated with that dream that they have is they lose that balance in life. And so whether that's, gardening, reading, working on cars, sports, religion, spirituality, you got to have that foundation there in order to really go far. And I think that's something that a lot of your guests have said, right? Like, at some point, you're going to be stressed on this road, right? And it's a long journey. And so you got to be able to resort back to something that's going to keep you grounded and level.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's friends, sometimes that's the church, sometimes that's going outside and barbecuing those ribs or that brisket, whatever it is. You know, we're tech guys, so we love being
Yeah, man.
and eating. But from high school to now, I mean, I think a lot of that strong foundation that's necessary to go to professional school and even college starts with taking high school, you know, serious and making sure that you're doing everything you can to prepare yourself for what the next obstacle or stone that you're going to have to hurdle over is going to be.
Yeah, that's definitely important. I know I definitely wasn't, you know, necessarily. We didn't know all this stuff back then. You know, like we were just in those classes grinding. You know, in high school, trying to have fun.
Yeah.
Man, me, you, and Famous, man. We were like the three must.
And
Like the
Noah,
three
what's going
musketeers.
on, brother?
Yeah, shout out to Amos. Yeah. I can't even remember. I know you were like in HOSA, right? The
Health Occupation, Students of
right.
America,
Right.
FBLA for Future Business Leaders, and Student Government.
That's what's up, man. Early on, you already knew like this is what you wanted to do and you were going for it. So,
Boy Scouts, that was another really big one. I think a lot of those extracurriculars, in the moment you don't understand what they're teaching you, but later on you look back and you say, wow, you know, this one taught me leadership, this one taught me communication, this one taught me professionalism.
Yeah.
In the moment, you're just happy to be with your friends in a group, performing a task or doing a job. But looking back, those are definitely parts of that foundation that you need to be that great professional in the future.
That's awesome. I know for me, one of the things that I learned in high school, senior year, it took me to learn was, you remember when they came out with, well, it wasn't even the rankings, but they had the rankings, and then everybody started applying to college, and, all the smart kids, were, oh, I'm going to this place, I'm going to that place, one of the things that I saw was when all the athletes started getting scholarships to Rise and all this stuff. I'm like, man, like, all this studying and AP classes, pre-AP honors, and, you can barely get an admission to Rice, let alone a scholarship, in the future, I'm gonna definitely make sure my kids know how to throw or some type of football or play some type of sport, because I think we a lot of times we put too much emphasis on maybe one or the other. For me, I knew I wasn't athletic, so that wasn't gonna work. but yeah, that's definitely one of the things that I saw when I saw them, not just getting admitted, but just also you're getting full ride scholarships or whatever type of scholarships, and I'm busting my tail trying to write these essays for scholarships. But no, man, high school was interesting. High school was very interesting. What were some of your favorite memories?
Ooh. Man, favorite memories from high school. A lot of my memories revolved around the extracurriculars that I did in high school, whether it was FBLA or HOSA. The trips to the competitions, a lot of them were just sitting at the lunch table, man, just laughing.
I know, man. I know. We had a lot of those times, man. Me, you, and Famous, just I don't even know. Man. I don't even know how we connected, man. But we just had this like bond, and just
I think it started. If I remember correctly, I think it was we were all just in the same class, and we kind of just gravitated to one another, whether it was a group project or or whatever it was, sitting near each other, and then, hey, who are you? Hey, I'm Daniel. Hey, I'm Paseo. Hey, I'm Amos, and then the rest is great, right?
Yeah. Shout out to Amos, man. I see, y'all still got to invite me out when you're doing the next
Absolutely,
when
man.
you're doing the next Mardi Gras or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he another really good friend from high school, man. I really, like I said it earlier, man. I really believe in surrounding yourself with good people, man. I think it just
Yeah,
makes things easier. That support system, that encouragement. I think oftentimes, people gravitate to people for the wrong reasons, and then before
oh
you
yeah,
know it, um, you're lost. And I think that happens a lot, not only just in careers, but academically. And so,
yeah.
like-minded people will push you far.
That's definitely absolutely true, man. I agree with that 100%. I agree with that. So after high school, man, we did high school, graduated in '05, 15 years ago. Um, and then we both went off to undergrad.
Yeah,
I know you went off to Grambling.
yeah, Grambling State University. Let
That's
me
what's up, man.
let me put my plug in for all the HBCU and all the HBCU graduates. I think you had a nice run of Longhorn friends, and UT is a great public institution here in Texas. Huge school, great opportunity.
Yeah,
But for me, I think I knew I wanted something a little different. And by different, I mean, I know when you think about HBCUs or historically Black college and universities, I think what you commonly hear from people is that it's a family environment, that it's a home. And I come from a long line of HBCU grads. My parents went to Cheney, it's where they met in Pennsylvania, and then they went to TSU for their graduate studies. I went to Grambling. I have a brother who went to Howard, another one who went to Morehouse. And so, I believe in that HBCU mission and their desire to train and prepare young men and women for these careers in the future. And I think as a first generation student, it's a great place to go. It's really a Best Buy. It's a lot more. It's a lot less costly than some of these bigger PWIs, and the resources are there. I think if you can make it at an HBCU, you can make it anywhere. Truly, right? And so I have a very special place in my heart for my Grambling days and what I was able to do there, the mentors that I met there. When you think of, I heard you talking with another guest about organic chemistry, right? The class in undergrad. And, I'm sure at UT, I don't know how many people were in that auditorium with you guys,
bro.
but, for me, it was a class of,
300.
maybe 30 to 40 people. You knew your professor well, you knew the TA well.
Yeah,
They wanted you to succeed. And I think for some students, that opportunity of an HBCU works really well for them, right? You get that personalized touch. People know your name. Office hours are real. You can actually go and talk to a professor. Tutoring's available. I see no difference between, a PWI and an HBCU.
yeah.
At the end of the day, it's really about how you push yourself. I can name, several of my classmates who went on to do great things similar to me. And the statistics will prove it too. You got, the number of African Americans, especially who come from HBCUs and become teachers or engineers or doctors, pharmacists, lawyers. They're definitely leading in preparing young African Americans and others who decide to come to HBCUs. It's not just a Black experience at an HBCU.
Yeah.
Everyone and anyone is welcome, and you're going to walk out there with a great education.
That's amazing. I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah, it's at UT, definitely a great school, but a lot of times you could have gotten lost in the crowd. You have 50,000 students out there. You go in class and you sometimes you're the only Black face or Black person in the room. Of about 300, maybe 400 students.
Right.
So it made it very difficult, and that's why, a lot of the friends that I have had and that I did have, in school, were friends that I was able to get into some type of, or organization with, that I knew some other way, other than just class. It was people that my first guest, we were in the same dorms together, and so that made it a little bit easier. But yeah, I can definitely see that other angle with a smaller institution, a HBCU, where you just feel like, you're a family. You kind of know people.
Right.
You're not just another face.
Exactly.
That's unknown. And so
I agree.
that's awesome, man.
And I
That's
think
awesome. So
it was those experiences at Grambling, being in the pre-medical club and being in the biology club and chemistry club and going on these conferences. I think, when you talk about, especially, the road to becoming a doctor, I think, high school is an important step because it teaches you that foundation of, okay, I need to study, test taking, and then college furthers it a little bit longer along the lines of, okay, I need to understand test taking and strategy. And I think one of the biggest things to come out of undergrad for anyone, whether you're a history major, communications, sciences, becoming an adult learner. That's something that probably doesn't really happen until you get to college, where now you have the autonomy and you have to push yourself to study and understand that, in 2 weeks this paper is due, in 3 weeks midterms are here, but then also balancing personal life and everything else. And so I think those who do that well are better preparing themselves for graduate school and professional school and beyond afterwards.
And kind of referencing back to what I had said about organic chemistry on the previous episode, it was interesting to me coming to UT, because in high school, man, for me at least, high school was a breeze. You just studied, maybe right the night before for a test, memorize a few things, look at your notes real quick, go in, ace it. Everybody's like,
oh, in 15 minutes,
yeah. Everybody's like, oh man, and I'm like, all right, it is what it is, But and then you go to college, and that same thing don't work. Same strategy doesn't work at all, and now you have to really, really learn and really, really study and just know this stuff inside and out, And so for me,
you make a really good point. I think as you progress further in school, what you realize is that at each level you're given more information, right? And the students who do well or are best prepared for med school or the MCAT or pharmacy exams are the ones who can take that information and condense, right? Because you'll sit in a lecture and they'll flip through 50 slides and you may only get 2 questions out of that 50 slides said on your next exam, right? And so it's an art really to sit there for 8 weeks, condense all this material to be able to take a test over 50 to 100 questions, right? And so for those students who may not be the best test takers or have test anxiety, my advice to them is that it takes time to master that craft. That's not something I don't think you're mastered at the high school level. And really, even into college, sometimes it's your junior and senior year before it really starts to click and you're like, okay, I'm a good test taker now, right?
Yeah. Because
test anxiety is real, and that almost overwhelming nature of where do I start to study, right?
Yeah.
You go into a class and they give you sometimes a 1 or 2 page syllabus, a 500-page textbook, and you have 3 exams the entire semester, right? So again, being an adult learner, understanding how to study, and then using the resources around you, tutoring, peer groups, forums online. Now you can find anything you want on the internet. I mean, we were in school 5-10 years ago. The internet wasn't what it is now. I mean, all these flashcards and things that you can Google now. The sky's the limit on how you prepare for exams.
Yeah. It's definitely, you have to find something that works for you. You can't you can't look at, you know, what somebody else is doing necessarily. You gotta, you know, for me, I know I'm the type of person, I like to like consume as much information as I can find on whatever topic it is. So whether it's YouTube videos,
Yeah.
textbook, whatever, and just, you know, finding whatever way to internalize that and learn it. But it was, yeah, college was definitely an interesting experience, man. How was med school? You went on to med school at
Yeah. So gambling for 4 years, was a
okay.
biology major, again in a lot of clubs. I knew I wanted to do something in science, and so that made it easy for me to choose a pre-med track. And then, you know, one of the great things that I applied to and was accepted into at Grambling was we had a Meharry BSMD program, Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee. And so I was going there every summer from end of freshman year to going into my senior year. And it was all about preparing us for med school, the MCAT. And so for me, that's a plug to say that for all you young students or those who are looking for experience, you know, there are internships all around, right? And I think what internships do and mentorships and summer programs is that they reinforce skills that you're going to need at that next level, right? And a lot of these are paid. They'll give you a room, they'll give you board, they'll give you a stipend. It's just a matter of asking and searching. But I think that time at Meharry gave me the confidence to know, okay, I can go on to med school. I can be great. I'm getting the tools that I need. And so took the MCAT going into my senior year at Grambling. Took it twice. Did really well the second time. Applied to Texas schools, East Coast schools. Went on an interview at Kansas and was really impressed by the curriculum. They were changing things at the time. I didn't know anybody in Kansas, at University of Kansas, but when I got the acceptance letter, you know, I was definitely through the roof. I was ready for that next challenge. And so right after I graduated Grambling, I started that summer program at the University of Kansas. And that summer program then went into that first year of med school. And so
Oh wow.
Med school, as you can imagine, you know, it's highly competitive. You know, you take, you know, the best of every university, you put them all in a room, and it's everyone's going for it, right? So
Yeah.
I think the biggest adjustment from undergrad to med school is just the volume of information you're having to deal with, right? And then again, being an adult learner, because there's no one there to tell you, okay, just read pages 25 through 50 for next class, or
Yeah.
do this or do that. And so, again, that theme of surrounding yourself by good people. And I'm sure you can attest to this when you got to pharmacy school. It's you get that group around you of people who are going to motivate one another, right? And those good friends who all want to succeed and see everyone win, sharing those study guides and everything else goes a long way in establishing success in med school.
That's what's up, man. I didn't get to ask this question, or maybe we kind of glossed over it. What made you want to go into med school, or what made you want to become a doctor even initially?
You know what? I know this is going to sound cliche, but some of it was just being a naturally inquisitive kid and having that desire for science, right? You know, I was the kid who, I was in the science fair, you know, every year, probably since like the first grade. And so whether it was, you know, testing the pH of soaps with litmus paper, or doing a probability experiment with like the number of seeds in an apple in elementary school, like for me, it was always that interest of, you know, enjoying science and the scientific process. And, you know, my dad has an oil and gas background. My mom was a dietitian. And so early on, I'd go with her to work and she'd leave me with the pharmacist, and I'd be in the pharmacist for a day, or I'd leave me at the nursing station. I'd see what the nurses were doing for the day, and then
Wow.
it just started fostering. Then I got an opportunity to have a great pediatrician, and he would give me insight on med school and that process. And so
Okay.
I knew my path was destined for healthcare and medicine. It wasn't until probably later in high school and into Grambling that I realized, okay, medicine was the route for me.
All right. You mentioned something, man. I'm gonna go there. Do you remember the science fair that we did in high school? And I don't know if you were there, man, but I was doing viscosity, and I had this big like jug of like, I don't know if it was water, I don't know if it was honey in the thing, and I was like warming up the beaker, and the whole thing exploded. You remember that?
Oh, I remember that now. Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that science. I think that was either 11th grade or 12th grade.
Yeah. I think it was like 11th grade or something, man. It was crazy. I remember. I don't know if you remember the name, like Eritrea. I think he was he was like around. Like,
Yeah.
Man, we went hard at those science fairs, man.
We did. We had a lot of fun. Anytime offered extra credit, man, we were there, man.
Yeah.
Get extra credit, I'm in there. Go to this conference, get extra credit, we were in there, right? And so,
Yeah.
I mean, again, I think it just speaks to opportunity. Never shut down an opportunity that's presented to you, because you never know long term what you're going to gain. Experience of just being there, right?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Wow. So med school, you're now in med school at it's not Tennessee, right? It's Kansas. Kansas, University of Kansas. What were some of the biggest challenges going through school for you, whether it was undergrad or med school?
I think number one, leaving that comfortable environment that you're in, right? Ideally, I would have loved to come back to Texas or be around close family at least. And so leaving and having to do something new is always an adjustment, right?
Yeah.
And so having to find a new apartment and making sure that all my things were in place to be a great student. And then, of course, that first day of class, you show up to the auditorium. And again, remember, in Grambling, my biggest class, might have been, like I said, 30 to 40 students. And so first day of med school, you roll up to an auditorium, it's, almost 200 kids or students.
Wow.
And monitors all over you. They're recording the lectures. After about 2 weeks, half the class doesn't show up because they're just podcasting it on 2 times speed and watching it, 3 times in a day. And so, again, it's that adult learner. It took a while to adjust, right?
Okay.
PhDs were coming in, especially in the basic sciences. Those first 2 years of med school, where it's heavy genetics, it's heavy biochem, heavy epidemiology. You're sometimes asking yourself, what does this have to do with taking care of blood pressure? What does this have to do with taking care of diabetes, right? But down the line, you realize why it's important. You realize now, epidemiology is something that's all around us as we talk about COVID-19. Biochemistry is in every organ of the body, and how we, prescribe medications for blood pressure or liver disease or COPD, all that has to do with metabolism and things like that. And so you don't see that vision in the beginning. You're just asking yourself, man, it's a lot of paperwork. Man, it's a lot of exams, a lot of coursework. Where does the medicine come into all this? And then it becomes clear as you get further down the line.
Yeah.
And then the competition, that's one thing I don't know if other guests have talked about, but I think as you get further, and especially in the professional school, med school, pharmacy school, it's competitive. You start really seeing who wants to share and doesn't share, especially when it comes to resources, textbooks, study guides, and so I think for me it was important to, number one, find a good group of friends, because that seems to be the theme: surrounding yourself with good people, and then a really good, we call them big sib, little sib, who are kind of like an upperclassmen who help guide you through, hey, this is how I got through this class, this is what I studied. Start getting ready for your board exam, step one now, and don't just wait until a year and a half from now to study for it. And so um, always being a good listener, I think, is what got me far, right? And then absorbing all that information that people are giving you and really deciphering, okay, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. It's a really big step in figuring out how to be successful in med school and how to learn.
You mentioned something about resources and, the competitiveness. One thing that I remember seeing was, you would have, you'd be studying, breaking your back to try to, pass a test or whatever. And unbeknownst to you, there could allegedly, there's fraternities and things like that where, man, they might have the actual copy of the test floating around, for their members, that somebody's gotten passed down, over the years or whatever, however they got it, that they know they got, and they're good, but nobody else has it,
True.
And everybody else is just studying hard, trying to, make it, struggling.
That definitely speaks to that competitiveness, man. I think when you put that many, type A personalities in a room, everyone is gunners. That's what we call high school. That's what we call them. And it's not, I understand that, they want to be the best. They're seeking something. And I think everyone is ultimately, right? We all want to learn we can and be the best we can in our craft. But I'll also add that, how you do it or the way you get there is the way you get there, right? You don't compare yourself to Joe Blow and this one and that one. How you get there is how you get there. At the end of the day, if you walk across that stage and you're an MD, PharmD, JD, PhD, you have that same degree as the guy right next to you who may have took a shortcut or who may have, cut corners. And so as long as you can be proud at the end of the day as you walk across that
what you did.
That's the ultimate goal.
Man, I remember when you graduated, from Kansas, I know you had reached out to me to come out. Man, it doesn't even seem that long.
Bro. It doesn't. 2000, man, when was it? 2000.
Must have been like 15, maybe 16.
Yeah, 2015, man.
Wow.
We had I invited a lot of good friends and family from Houston to come up to Kansas City for that graduation, and it was no better feeling, man, to be able to walk across the stage and to know that residency is the next step for you. And because it is hard work, and a lot of pre-medical students and even medical students who rotate at the office now, they'll ask me, is it hard or what's the process like? And I think for the young students who are listening and those who are interested, I think the best advice I can give them is you have to live in the moment that you're in, right? If you're a high school student, be the best high school student you can be, right?
Yeah.
Yourself with the best grades, the best GPA, the AP courses you need to take, prepare for the SAT, and then get through that and then move on to being the best undergraduate you can be, right? Build best grades, get your GPA strong, seek mentors. After undergrad, then develop yourself to be the best med student you can be, and then the best resident, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a marathon. So don't try to look for shortcuts as you're taking this journey, man. So you just got to keep your head down and truck through it and truck through it and truck through it. But that success at the end means a lot. I mean, it's you see it in all the guests that you've had. In the moment, you're drained, you're tired, you're fatigued, you're missing family and home-cooked meals, but the smile you see on our faces now as graduates and doing the thing that we love is what makes it all great.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. And so from there, you came back home. You did your residency here in Houston. And I know it was always, kind of a dream for you to be able to come back home. So how was that, man? How was residency? How how was that feeling, just being able to be back
Yeah.
after now it's like almost about 8 years, you know?
It was a long road to get back to Houston, to get back to Sugar Land. So I guess my late third year of med school is when I fell in love with family medicine.
Okay.
I was on a rotation, and in one day, that first day, I was with a private family med doc. Let me see. He went to the nursing home, rounded on patients to start the day. Then went to clinic. At lunchtime, he delivered a baby, and by the end of the day, he was doing a colonoscopy, right? And so when I saw the breadth of family medicine, what you could do in family medicine, I was sold. I think there were moments where I was like, okay, you know, emergency medicine, ER physician's kind of cool. OBGYN was really interesting to me, but, you know, to see how much family medicine could do. And again, this was Kansas and, you know, what I would consider probably a more rural area, but just to know that they had that training and that confidence to do all that, I was sold. And so then I jumped in, you know, first with all the family medicine interest groups and went to the conferences and learned more, and then got some great mentors and learned more. And so then I applied to residency, and I knew I wanted to come back to Texas. And so I think Texas probably has some of the best, in my opinion, family medicine residencies in the country. And I landed here in Sugar Land at Memorial Family Medicine Residency Program. Thrilled. It was right down the road from my house, right down the road from the hospital that I grew up going to, real close to mom and dad, back reunited with friends and family in the Texas area. And so, I mean, I was just, again, thrilled, through the roof, excited, ready to come back to Houston and really serve those people who grew up knowing me as Danny, the altar server, or Danny, the Boy Scout, or even seeing some of my teachers who came into the residency clinic, to see them, to now see me as this young doctor in training. It was an awesome feeling.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That was it 3 years or 4 years?
Family medicine is 3 years. 3 years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So you finished that, must have been about 2018.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
2018. Yep.
Yeah. And then from there you went on to I know you have your own clinic now, but how did you start off with that, or how did you?
Yeah. You know, so in residency, not only are you learning how to be a physician and the medicine that goes into being a great doctor and taking care of patients, but you're slowly introduced into, especially later in residency, job opportunities and how you want to practice once you leave residency, right? And so for most family medicine doctors, your routes are usually either academic, meaning you go back and teach at a med school and, you know, part-time, and then you also see patients, or at a residency program. Private practice like myself, where you have your own office, you are essentially your own boss, right? You determine what ages you see, you order, you hire, you fire, you set protocols. And then there, of course, is the employed position, which is, you know, a physician who decides to go and work for LCC or Methodist or Memorial Hermann. And so what drove me to private practice is, you know, I started off on the interview trail at these employed physician offices, right, where you'd work for the hospital, you'd see a certain number of patients a day, and you'd be able to go home. So I'd ask the question, well, you know, can we do Saturday clinic? Or can we do late evening clinic? Or do you have a dietitian available? Or can I do this procedure or that procedure? And I would always get the answer, well, we've never been asked that before, or no one else has done that before, or we don't have that in place yet. And so, you know, for me, again, being business savvy and a real go-getter, I said, well, let me just open my own practice, right? And so, again, surrounding yourself with good people, I reached out to other independent practice physicians, and they gave me great advice. And their best advice to me was, you can't do it all alone, right? And so as much as I wanted to just open up a practice and be able to have my hands in everything, we have to have an office manager. We have to have someone who does credentialing. We have to have medical assistants. We have to have a human resources individual who does benefits and things like that. So now fast forward 2 years after opening the practice, I love it. I love being able to practice medicine the way I envision it. I think my patients enjoy the experience here. Several times a week, I get patients who come from these bigger groups and say, you know what, I want the independent experience. I want the Dr. Nwachokor experience, the community health and life center experience that we have. And so very rewarding to see the growth that we've had. We started from, ground zero, day one patient, and that was it. And then now we're a bustling practice here in Sugar Land. We're expanding our staff. We're expanding our providers. To me, just extremely thankful, blessed is the best way to describe it.